I genuinely believe in our market, we are headed for the power sports boom that the West Coast saw in 2017 very rapidly. We see it every day in our store. Guys are coming in with their 25-year-old Honda Rancher 4x4s, and they're saying, guys, I'm ready to get a buggy. The fuck is a buggy? One of those things.
A lot of different things.
They're ready. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the episode. Big shout out to my co-hosts, Brandon Prokupek, Christian Engel. Today, our guest, Mr. Ryan Dallas. Thank you for being here, sir.
Howdy, howdy. Let's get rowdy.
Beautiful. All right, so again, I know it's cold outside. There's all kinds of weather happening. Hope everybody out there staying warm.
Tell you what, this weather has promoted sales for us.
That is correct.
100%.
If you got
people have finally decided, they've thought for a long time, and they've been waiting for an excuse to buy, and all of a sudden it's fucking snowpocalypse 2026. They're like, yes, I finally have a reason to buy this thing.
It's a catalyst if I've ever seen one.
Isn't it crazy how it's something like it just takes any given thing in any given moment that pushes people over the edge? It doesn't matter what you put out there, but what external circumstances can do to push a buyer's mentality. Yep. You know, something that you have no control over can change how entire month's going to look. You know.
Yeah. Years.
COVID.
I was going to say, I don't want to expand on it too much, but fear drives everything.
That is correct.
That's right.
If you're scared of something,
right now people are fearful. They're not going to have enough fun.
Boom.
Well, it's time to go and get you some fun.
I want to go do some donuts.
Get you some fun.
Anyways, again, welcome to the show, man. Appreciate you being here. We're going to start this thing off with a little bit about you. So just do a light introduction, man. Tell people about yourself, where you come from, why you're here, and then we'll take it from there.
Appreciate you guys having me. Honored to be here. My name's Ryan Dallas. I grew up in a small town called Akron, Ohio. Some people may have heard of it. It's the rubber capital of the world, right? I accidentally got into power sports. A lot of people don't intend to land in power sports, right? But once we get here, we get kind of stuck, right?
You're hooked.
We don't get stuck because we have to be here. We get stuck because we love to be here. So a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Akron, Ohio. Went through a variety of different career moves early in life. Went to school for pharmacy. Kicked out because I was doing more drugs than I was learning about. Honest opinion, right? Transitioned majors, ended up going to school for construction management, graduating, and had a fairly successful career in construction management. So much so that a headhunter had found me and moved me to beautiful San Diego, California.
Ooh,
10 out of 10 recommend visiting. Yeah. 0 out of 10 recommend living there. And what I found was when I took that job, a little bit about me. I'm coming up on 10 years of constant sobriety now. I got sober in January of 2017.
Big congrats.
Yeah, congratulations.
Just picked up 9 years, January 11th. And when I relocated to San Diego, a company spent a bunch of money moving me across the country to work for them, rather. But Ryan followed Ryan, right? I stayed running in the circles that I was running with on the East Coast and doing the same things up to no good. And I reached reaching a point of pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization of self. And for people who aren't sober, what that means is you're fucking homeless. You're bankrupted, right? Morally, spiritually, and financially. And you do what any good alcoholic and drug addict does, which is you call mommy and daddy and ask if you can sleep on their couch, right? And that's how I ended up in Phoenix, Arizona. So January 10th of 2017, I moved to Phoenix. January 11th, I got sober. I got a sponsor who helped me get and stay sober, work the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and told me I had to take a year off from my career. Well, I needed money for cigarettes. Desperately, right? So he told me I could get a part-time job. And I interviewed and was about to start an illustrious part-time career at the Circle K, but I needed transportation. And that's how I got into power sports. I found a scooter, a Chinese scooter. It was called a Flying Tiger. It was advertised at a store called Ride Now Power Sports in Goodyear, Arizona. And I walked in to buy that scooter. It was $500. I borrowed the money from my uncle. And I accidentally left with a job. A guy named Dan Robertson and the general manager of the store, Nick Hyder, sold me on working for them. Told me that you're a power sports enthusiast. You've ridden motorcycles and dirt bikes all your life. Why do you want to work at a gas station? And that's how I ended up here.
Good question.
Exactly. They took a chance on me and turned out to be the best day of my life, right? That was the first day of the rest of my life, and I had no idea at that moment. I thought that I had just scored myself a job and I was going to make a little bit of money to make ends meet and go back to building buildings. So I didn't know this at the time, right? But the place that had just took a chance on me was the number one force in power sports. It was Ride Now Power Sports. It was founded by two guys, Mark Tack and Bill Coulter, and they set the standard for what we in this business do. And in a lot of ways, I would actually attribute this to those two guys. The reason we're all in this industry right now is because of what they did,
100%.
right? The groundwork that they laid. And I spent the better part of the next decade in that organization. I started as a sales guy on the floor, worked my way up, came through a different pathway to promotion than many people in our industry do, right? I had skipped around promoting from sales to like floor management and then sales management. I went laterally over to internet. And I think that's a big part of the reason why I've been able to be somewhat successful, if I can say myself, in this industry is I learned not just the in-person showroom, I learned the digital showroom early, right? And because of those things, we were able to successfully really dominate during COVID, right? So picture the timeline. I get into power sports in 17, 3 years of building an elite internet department. Boom, COVID hits. Great. How are we capturing every piece of business that we can capture, right? And, you know, I worked in a few different roles in the organization. Following that, I eventually promoted to a regional role and then general manager role and built a really, really successful life for me and my family and for a lot of guys that were on my team. But the one thing I took away from that is sometimes accidents are the best things that can happen in your life, right? And here I am today joining a new dealer organization and couldn't be happier. I have nothing to say negatively about my last organization. I believe I earned my PhD in power sports there, right?
Yep, absolutely. Speak a little bit on your regional position with Ride Now, and then what happened when you transitioned to your GM role, and what did you do to transform that store from where it was to where it is now?
So coming out of Arizona, we had just acquired a significant amount of dealers when we went public, right? And I'm going to talk in terms that we can talk about, right? Because I have nothing but respect for the people in that organization, and I can't. They're publicly traded, right? So there's certain things that I cannot say,
Sure,
right? Because that's proprietary information. But this is public information. We had purchased Freedom Power Sports, and a good amount of those dealerships were located in Texas. So the company had regionalized their structure, and they were building regional teams to go out and really help refine best practices across the different regions in the company. And that was where I had gotten the opportunity to go be a regional sales and finance director in Texas. And a part of that was helping with the post-acquisition efforts in a 14-store dealer group, which has nightmares of its own, right?
Sure.
You have different systems, different people, different procedures.
I think we know all too well about
You
that.
do. Don't get me started on the chart of accounts, right? Very, very different. And so that's why I say that I was fortunate. The guys around me helped me really earn my PhD in power sports, right? Because I learned a lot of things that the average man in this industry will never earn. And one of the things that I learned there was the best strategies in running good dealerships is not running the dealership. It's motivating the people, right? If you can find a way to put the right asses in the right seats and get them to work with a synchronicity that you can't find anywhere else outside of a power sports dealership, you're going to find wild success, right? So I picked up a lot of different tools when I was there, especially with problems, right? When you have 150, 200, 250 people working together in these dealerships, you learn a lot about having the right personalities in the right place, you know? And some of your most dynamic sales desks, you'll have one guy that in a dealership by himself, if you're in a 30, 40 unit store, you're like, this guy cannot run a sales department. This guy he's not that guy. He's too analytical. He's not driving enough. But you take someone from another small 30, 40 unit a month store that is way too driving and no attention to detail. Well, guess what happens when you partner those two guys together? They each make up for each other's shortcomings, right?
Rocket fuel.
Exactly. And they motivate each other. And then you have a dynamic duo that cannot be replicated anywhere else, you know? And that's one of the strongest parts in these dealer groups is being able to move pieces on the chessboard. If you can make sure that your king and queen are always next to each other on the board, but most importantly, you have a rook that's ready to protect them, you're going to have a successful dealership. It's just a matter of putting the pieces in the right places. This is chess, not checkers. So moving back into a single rooftop dealership, taking a lot of those things that you learn at scale, right? Because to people who have never worked over multiple rooftops at one time, they just don't necessarily understand the problems that come with scale. But if you can take the things that you learn from operating in scale and utilize them inside of one dealership, you can build an absolute monster of a store, right? And all those things that you learn about motivating the people transfers directly to your customer, right? When you have those multiple personalities in one sales department, you have a salesperson or a sales manager or an operator for every consumer that walks into your dealership, right? I know some of the things you guys talk about is you say, you have 3 different groups of people, right? You have your low-end consumer, your mid-range, and then your high-end buyer. And we need to figure out how to get more of those high-end buyers into our dealerships today. One of the things I disagree with that is I'm not so focused on that. What I want to figure out is, how can I cater to the mid-range buyer 24/7 and let the high-range buyer fit into the process that we're putting the mid-range buyer through, right? So that they still feel like they're getting a white glove experience, but they're staying inside of our process so that we know we're juicing every amount of profit out of that customer that we can, right? And that's one of the things that we implemented when I moved to North Carolina. We had a hole in a store here, and we knew that there was a massive amount of profit or massive amount of potential in the store.
I think you said it right the first time.
Yeah, massive amount of profit potential, right? I didn't want to say that, but we had been going through challenging times, right? Like all dealers were at the time, where inventory was ramping up, interest was ramping down, and as a leading force in Powersports, it was okay. How can we make sure that we make every penny on every deal that we can, right? And what can we do to structure ourselves that way? And my wife has a great family system here in North Carolina, and the opportunity came for me to leave Texas. We weren't happy in Texas at all as a family. It just wasn't a great fit for our family. And the opportunity came here. I jumped at it, and dude, we built something incredible here. I mean, we competed directly against each other.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We built something incredible in it.
I heard about Ryan Dallas all the time. It's like, who is this guy?
There's
What's
a reason
he doing?
he's sitting in this room.
What's he doing?
Okay?
Well, a lot of it came down to customer experience, right? So our job is to make as much money as we can on every deal, but how do we do that? Is by giving the best customer experience. And sometimes that doesn't mean taking the gloves off, giving people things for free. Sometimes giving people the best customer experience is just by helping them and listening to them. And the more we can listen to our consumers, the more money we're going to make, right? Wise guys say all the time, selling is not talking, it's listening. So how can we listen, identify needs, and provide solutions that fits them, right? No one needs an $800 payment on a toy. Nobody needs it.
Nobody needs it.
No,
You're
I don't
right.
need it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But people
I
are
don't
lining
need it,
up
but
in
damn,
droves.
I want it bad.
Exactly.
I want it bad.
And I'm not looking at your leads today, but I would say, I would assume you've had an incredible pickup in digital leads over the last 96 hours with all the fear mongering that's going on in our region, right? These are people that don't need an $800 payment 364 days a year, right? But this one day a year, the 365th, they're voluntarily jumping and signing up because a catalyst pushed them over the edge. So when they come to our dealership, they need to have the best possible experience that they can have.
Yep.
Right.
So something you said towards the intro of yourself that really resonates with me is, one, the timeline of which you came into the industry is very interesting. It's 2017, right? Which is really when you and I started going heavy on what we're doing. And our main thing, the thing that
what we're doing is what?
Is we're creating the in-store experience online. Right? Because I've studied, and I'm sure you have as well, all the analytics around like how many dealerships a person visits before they buy. It's 1.2 or whatever the number is. And then how do we make that customer decide that, hey, Powermaxx is where we're going to walk in when we decide to visit a dealership?
Let me stop you really quick and put this in more layman's terms, right? My wife, my beautiful wife, Shannon, she will not walk into a fucking Target without knowing exactly if the thing she's looking for is in stock and what aisle it's on, right? So if we're assuming our customers are doing anything different, we're fooling ourselves.
We're wrong.
Right?
Yep. So our biggest asset, I mean, look, we're great at ads, Google, Facebook. We're great at all of that. But I mean, our biggest asset is standing right there in the sense that we have the ability consistently to create video content that gives people the sense that they've been to our dealership before.
Sure.
And as honestly switching over to like a marketing company perspective, it's our least consumed product in terms of like content creation. But when our dealers commit to it, I've spent all week traveling around the state doing content shoots with dealers.
Sure.
And I did 2 this week that this was their second time around. And they were so much more motivated because of this one thing that we can't attribute as a marketing company, which is, dude, you won't believe how many people walk into this store and say, you're the guy I saw on Facebook, right? And so I'd love for you to expand on that idea of like how you create the digital, the in-store experience online. It's something that I say in all of my presentations, but I think it's probably the differentiating
Yeah, that's something
factor.
that we coined in 2017.
Yeah.
We're like, how do we give you the in-store experience online? And we started it with me.
Yep.
Right? I was the guy in front of the camera for a long time. And it was amazing how many people come in. Like, literally, I had a guy that walked in the dealership when I was at the other store, and he's like, hey, I saw you online, and it reminded me that I needed to change the oil on my Polaris Razor.
Not just major unit
Yeah,
focused
so I
either.
come in today to buy the oil because I saw your ad this morning.
Yeah, like our guy in South Carolina, it's like, dude, I'll be at the baseball field, and somebody on my kids, a parent on my kids' baseball team will come and say, I can't get on Facebook without seeing you. I mean, and that's really the goal. I always tell people,
We're gonna make you Facebook famous.
Yeah, I always tell people like, hey, my goal is to make sure you can't think about power sports in North Carolina without seeing Powermaxx. Like it can't even cross your brain. So what I want to hear from you is like from a perspective that's a little more expanded, because we're not just talking about, you know, a 3 group, but maybe you have a perspective from Ride Now as this major group. What are some of the things that you guys did to try to create that experience online?
You know, I can't really go into the marketing side of things, right? Because again, a lot of that is proprietary. But I can tell you this: if you interact with their pages, you're going to see the goal in any power sports marketing is not so much to create the dealership experience through the videos. It's to be motivational, not informational, right? We want to motivate consumers to come to our store through our content. And that's kind of what Brandon was just talking about, right? A guy comes in, says, man, you reminded me to change my oil. Exactly. My goal is not for them to feel like they've shopped at our store when they watch our content. My goal is to drive them to come visit our store. We want to break down the barrier of entry, right? This entire business is about barriers of entry. Again, to come back to the ice storm that we're headed to, this ice apocalypse, which, dude, we're not even going to have it just yet, right? It's not.
I've got 2 generators. Don't tell me that.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. They're running in parallel. But this is a barrier of entry. And how can we eliminate barriers of entry? Well, again, having a friendly guy that looks very, very relatable, sharing and creating content that we can understand as laymen who are not in this industry every day, breaks down a barrier of entry and says, you know what, I need to go check those guys out, because we don't get to decide, right? We talk about 28 touches for a consumer to decide to buy a luxury product. We don't get to decide where in the touch cycle. That sounds crazy. Where in the touch cycle a consumer is. We don't get to decide that.
You thought
right?
it was going to be a different button, didn't you?
Exactly. For all we know, he shopped for a product 2 years ago and got the first 20 of his touches. Well, now he's driving down the freeway. He sees a billboard on the side of the road. Then he drives by a dealership. Then he interacts with us on social media. Now he's at 26 touches. He happens to walk into our store. That could be his 27th touch, and we can't push him over the edge to turn him from a just looker and into a buyer. But the content that we are posting and the communication that our team members are following up on this unsold traffic hit him with will be the 28th touch, right? So how can we touch that customer? And again,
Don't be gay.
How can we?
That's the button.
How can we interact with that customer enough, or get our customer to touch us enough before he walks into our dealership, so that when he's here, we can absolutely push him over the edge, turn him from a just looker into a buyer, get him a great product, and then let him protect his investment so we can make some money, right?
Agreed.
That's
Yep.
my view of content. And you may differ on this, Pac. What's your opinion?
Here's no, I actually do, and maybe I should have provided you more context. Is like when we're doing our videos, we rarely hit on like the unit that I'm standing in front of. It's more of like, if we touch on anything, it's that we carry the full lineup, and really more important to me is that there's a guy in front of the camera that they can look at and not feel like they're being sold on a product.
Right.
Yeah.
We're literally inspiring them, and just come check us out. We have everything that you think you could need. If you've been looking at, if we're talking about a Defender lineup, if you're looking at an HD7 or all the way up to a fucking Lone Star, like we've got it.
100%.
Just know that there's this guy here who's going to take care of you. I'm not going to tell you the specs. I'm not going to tell you how much, what
The
the
price,
outdoor
the
price.
payment, the none of that.
Hey,
yeah.
we're here. Come check us out. That's
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
it's really a soft
You're
touch.
breaking down that barrier to what he said. You're
Correct.
inviting them into the showroom.
without feeling like they're being
Yeah.
without giving them that moment of pressure sale. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Whereas like we got the best deals. We'll mention we got great rebates and financing, but we're not going to put any specifics on most of the time on those videos. One, because I want to use them for the long term, and these things are, as you know, they change every single month. But two, so that there's not this like, yes, I'm inspiring action now, but not in the sense that like, wow, if I don't get in there right this second, I'm not going to get what these guys are offering, right? It's something that like I want them to know who Christian is and to feel comfortable with Christian before they ever walk into the dealership.
It sounds to me, and not to dumb this down, but it sounds to me like we're all saying the same thing
We
here,
are.
which is the goal is to create a guy. And I hate to say a guy, right? But
Guy, gal,
Person.
one thing about I left
Hey, if
out
it's a
about,
gal, it's probably a better.
better.
It's a better.
Hey, yo.
Yeah,
it's probably going to be a
100%.
lower barrier of
Yeah.
entry, right?
Yep, yep.
One thing that I left
No
out
disrespect,
about,
but like the
None.
Yeah.
One thing I left out about where I grew up is it was a very tight-knit Italian community, right? And in an Italian community, everyone's got a guy. So I have a guy for
Yep.
everything,
Yep.
right? If I don't have a guy, I have a guy. I have a guy that will get me a guy. I'll call him up and I'll say, dude, I need a mattress. Ah, I got a guy. Let
Yep.
me send you his phone
Yeah.
number, right?
Yep.
Well, we want to be that guy. And our
Correct.
content is pushing whoever's in front of the camera to become that guy to the average Joe consumer who's never been to one of our stores or never shopped for our product.
Yeah.
And the real key is when I can, and this is the hardest part, is getting the participation from the guys that are not Christian to let them know that they can become the guys too,
100%.
especially in other
Yeah.
dealers. Like I don't always, the dealership that you're in is tight knit enough to where I'm comfortable with you being the guy. But when I go to a bigger store, I'm going to encourage every single individual who at least is on the sales floor to get out there and do this, because any given one of them can be the guy for that specific customer, right?
Exactly.
Maybe you don't resonate with this customer, but you resonate with this group of
Yeah.
customers, right?
Yep.
So a range of guys or gals, if you will, are the key. And honestly, here's what I tell to get this participation from the people who are in the dealerships, like
do content.
Correct. Typically, when I go into these stores, I know the GM, and he's going to be the guy that I focus on. But what I will tell the sales guys is like, hey, this is an opportunity for you to grow your business within the business. You want the same way people
For
come,
free.
for free. For the same way that people come in and ask for Christian, well, they can ask for, salesperson A, B, C, or D,
Yeah.
as long as you'll get
Jason,
in here.
Alex,
Exactly.
Addison,
As
whoever.
long as you'll get in here and participate in this thing.
Yeah.
And selfishly, right? We don't want our salespeople to do this, but they should want to do this because they should be thinking in the back of their head, right? Everyone's replaceable. What happens if tomorrow I'm out of job?
Yeah.
I want to be my customer's guy. I want them to remember Christian from Powermaxx, right? So
right.
that when they see me
Well,
at a different dealership, they see
yeah.
me online, they're like, that's where my
Yeah,
business is
100%.
going.
It's not the dealership.
Exactly.
It's people follow people.
People
And to your
follow
point
people.
about having a guy, so short story, I moved to Florida for a stint of time, and when I got down there, I didn't have a guy for my tires. I didn't have a guy for my tent. I didn't have a guy to inspect my car. I didn't have a guy to come in and service my HVAC. And that was one of the biggest driving factors that drove me back to North Carolina, other than our dealerships, was like, in this area, I have a guy.
Yep.
And if I don't have a guy, I have a guy for a guy.
Exactly. You have a guy.
I have a guy. Yeah. So I can get anything I want through a guy or another guy. I'm a know a guy kind of guy.
Dude, I worked as a salesperson inside the dealership for 3 years, which is what gives me a more in-depth perspective as a marketer in this.
Sure.
But even to this day, 5 years removed from being a salesperson, I get calls from customers that I sold 5 years ago who are asking me about specific units that I sold them, where to go, who to take care of them, how do I get
Or where to
this.
get their next unit from.
Exactly. Like to this day, I'll be standing in that dealership.
And you were only there for like a year and a half. 2 years tops.
as a salesperson,
As a
2 years,
salesperson,
probably
yeah.
2 years
2 years,
tops.
yeah.
Yeah. So not super.
not there long enough to build this huge pipeline.
Exactly.
But that's an asset that goes a long way. I've worked with a decent amount of marketers in my in my career, right? Both inside and outside of house. And the one thing that I will say is, out of every marketing professional I've worked with, I can only think of two that ever worked inside of a Powersports dealership. I can only think of one of those two that's ever ridden what we sell.
Yep.
Right? And to me, it's hard
Damn,
to...
you in the top like 95%, dude.
Well, I didn't say that yet. I haven't got to know him yet, right? But I would almost go so far as to say that you cannot effectively market power sports if you haven't lived our lifestyle. We live a completely different lifestyle. Yep. The things that motivate us, right? A part of our sales process that Garage Composites teach, form or format, whatever you want to call it. How can you understand someone's motivation if you're not motivated by the same things, right? So how do you know what's going to push a buyer over the edge when it comes to content creation, when it comes to retargeting, when it comes to sponsored carousel ads, whatever it may be? If you're not intricately in this business, you don't know what's selling this time of year, what PG&A offers are really going to help drive people to your dealership. How can you effectively do the job?
You can't. Yeah. I mean, and here's there's a if I may transition to the marketing company and why we have had great success over the past 4 years is a couple of things. One is our motto is operators or enthusiasts first, operator second, marketing third, right? It's not like we're marketers who came into this space to do marketing. No, we started out as operators and enthusiasts where we realized we had this skill set of like, hey, we can do this. Number two is exactly what you're saying. My dealers don't call me and say, hey, I need to run an ad on Can-Am Defender Limiteds. I don't ask them, is that the one with 4 wheels? You know what I mean? Like, you know,
so limited. They only make a few of them, or
well,
they're hard to get.
As
Limited
surprising
quantity.
as that sounds, man, you won't believe how many people who approach us who come to me and just say, the guys that I'm working with right now, they just don't understand what we're doing. I am the enthusiast. I do understand that this is not a need, it's a want. And what is the things that we do to help people understand that? You know, my favorite thing is that we sell power sports not because we want to make a profit. Profit is a result, not a why. It's we believe this product brings people together and it gets people outdoors. And there's a bigger picture to this than just we're going to sell more units at the dealership. No, we actually believe that this product is good for people.
Agreed.
So I think for the thing that that has allowed us to have a 95% retention rate and to continuously grow every year is one. Shout out to Christian Engel. Communication is the highest form of respect. I go out of my way to over-communicate with my dealers. Number two is that we are actually living the product exactly what you said. It's not we're talking all discretionary income. Nobody needs a $50,000 Defender. But how can we, if they've got the money to spend, how can we motivate them to say, hey, this is a want that will affect not just the things that you need it for, but the things that you want to do. Grow closer to your family. Spend more time with your kids. All of those following things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't judge it by miles per gallon. We judge it by smiles per gallon.
There you
Hey,
go.
yo.
Holy shit, there's a new term.
Hey, yo.
We are not saying that. I will.
We would if we sold heavy-duty trucks.
I will actually use what the example you're making to kind of segue into something else that to me is a very important part of content creation as well as external and internal dealership marketing, which is this. We are not selling the product, we're selling a lifestyle, right?
Yep.
And I want to take this back to the motor company, Harley-Davidson Motor Company, right? Established in 1903. How many ads for Harley-Davidson have you ever seen in your life? Probably plenty. I've seen quite a few, but never a TV advertisement. I have never seen the motor company sell a bike. I've never seen them sell a payment. I've never seen them sell an interest rate. I've never seen them sell a price in any of their pointed communications. What I have seen them sell is live free, ride hard, freedom, American experience, American built, oldest motor company in America, which is not true. Indian Motorcycle was founded in 1901. But these are
valid.
These are pointed items that have sold a lifestyle. Now, take this out of major unit sales and look at motor clothes, look at parts and accessories sale, look at branding. How many people, I guarantee everyone in this room, nobody can pick a person in their family or friend group that does not own a Harley-Davidson Bar and Shield shirt, right? Everybody's got a Bar and Shield shirt somewhere in their property. Everyone. How many of them have ever owned a Harley? Probably not many.
Yeah.
Right? But it is the biggest, most American brand ever created. And I know they've had a challenging last 2 years at the motor company, right? We all know that. That's public information. They talk about it. But that's just a hazard of the times we're in. If anyone thinks Harley-Davidson will ever go out of business, they're lying to themselves. It's not going to happen because it's ingrained in American culture because since 1903, what is that, 123 years now? For 123 years, Harley-Davidson has marketed American freedom.
Yep.
Right? And that goes a long way when we're talking about content creation. So are we selling the product? Are we selling a service? Are we selling?
I think most dealers are selling a product.
They 100% are.
They're not selling the experience and the lifestyle and the stuff that, like, we focus on this a lot. We used to focus on it more. Probably should do more of this. But, like, what joy does this bring to us? Like, in our family and our environment, and when we go out and ride, how much fun do we have? Well, how close does that bring us together?
I mean, it's
As an industry, are we selling that? Are we selling, well, this has 14 inches of ground clearance and 235 horsepower, and who gives a shit? What does it feel like when you get behind that wheel? Or what does it feel like when you get out of that machine and you get in your group of friends and you guys are all on the trail or at some crazy destination where you're overlooking the mountain pass? What's that feeling? Are we selling that feeling?
Some of the best memories,
as an industry,
some of the best memories we make when we're out riding have nothing to do with riding.
Yeah.
The key's off.
Yeah. You're not even behind the wheel.
We're sitting on a rock having some beers or pops if you're me, right? And just talking, laughing, having a campfire. You know, in Arizona, we used to go out to the Glamis Sand Dunes, which to me is roller coasters for adults, right? It's the world's biggest roller coaster.
Always wanted to go there.
I would encourage everyone sitting at this table and everyone that's listening to this show to make a trip to Glamis at least once in your life. You see 100,000 people riding sand cars, dirt bikes, and side-by-sides, camping in groups of 5 to 10,000 in the washes, and everybody's traveling between campsites, drinking beers, grilling, having fun, laughing. It's a lifestyle, right? And that's part of what's so successful on the West Coast with marketing. You'll see it in like Polaris's sponsored ads, especially as the fall starts coming up. All of their ads are pointed to people sitting in sand on tires, right? Because it's become a part of the lifestyle there.
which is probably why their ads don't do very well over here.
Because they're all covered in sand.
That's been a point of
Guy in
contention.
North Carolina's
for me.
like, where's the sand dunes at around here?
And that's been a point of contention for me since I moved to the East Coast, right? It's like, okay, how can we more regionalize the marketing,
Well,
right?
as an OEM, they cannot. Here's the problem: is they cannot. It's too big, and there's a reason why they've opened these pilot programs up to local agencies. And we're a part of them. And it's not just us. Every opportunity that they've given a dealer to do this, they've outperformed Polaris metrics. Not because, again, I do believe we're the best, but we're not the only ones participating. The reason that they extended it this year, the reason that our 2 North Carolina stores are the only North Carolina stores that have it, is because this shit works better than whatever they're doing. And they would not be giving these dollars freely if it was not working. So love the point, and I agree with you. Yes, at some stages and at some regional levels, it probably does work very well. But advertise sand dunes here.
Well, it's the same concept of what he's talking about. We're just talking about on the West Coast. There's sand dunes.
Yep.
On the East Coast, there's rocks and trees and mountains and stuff that they're not.
And that's where
that's what we show.
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
We're selling that lifestyle on this side of the country.
But that's where I'm taking the point is it's all about selling the lifestyle.
Yeah.
We sell 4-wheeled memory-making machines. How can we sell the idea or the necessity to go make memories with your friends and family? That's what we have to do.
Think about the COVID. Like, I mean, I know COVID's a terrible example.
It's not. The government gave us the excuse.
Right.
How can you make memories? Socially distancing yourselves?
Yeah. Or, oh shit, we're all going to die. I'm going to go finally do this thing that I've always wanted to do.
Right.
And I'm going to go spend $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 doing it. And I don't care.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to go make those memories and do those things that they never thought was possible because they were so concerned about spending their money.
I didn't need to maintain a 6-foot distance because I was on a motorcycle riding 400 miles in a day.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
There's something that I'd like to specifically target in this conversation. If I had the ability to run into every single customer that walks through the door of the dealership before they walk through the door of the dealership at Walmart a week before, I would take that every single time. And the reason I say that is because every time you meet somebody, the stress level reduces, right? The first time you meet somebody, your guard's up, right? It's way up here because you don't know them, right? You don't know what they're going to offer you. You don't know if they're going to scam you. You don't know if they're going to tell you something untrue. You're looking for some type of confirmation. So if I could bump elbows with every customer that we have at some place, I say Walmart, but if it's Rite Aid, if it's at the bar, if it's on the lake, if I could bump elbows one time before they show up to my dealership with every customer that walked through the door of my dealership, the close rate would skyrocket because now the stress level so much lower. Oh, hey man, I didn't know you worked here. Weren't you that guy that I just had a conversation with at the bar last week? Yeah, man, how you been doing? You were telling me about your dog. All these things happen, right? If you look at commercial marketing, so we look at big, because I know we're talking about this a lot, but if you look at what General Motors does for marketing, they spend 90% of their ad, 90% of it is the experience. When you watch a Chevrolet commercial, what does it open with? It doesn't open with best deals for best rated truck in America. Da, da, da. It opens with a guy driving a Silverado, picking up stuff at Lowe's with his family, going somewhere. And at the very end, once they've gained your trust and they've gained your attention because you're like, man, I really wish I did have a new Silverado, but I don't have one. At the very last 10% of that ad, whatever it is, they only allot 10% of now offering 0% financing on,
Right.
on
Yeah.
trucks, right?
It's funny because they'll speed up the number one rated truck by J.D. Power.
Yeah.
So
My point is what they're in essence what they're trying to do is they're trying to bump elbows with you first.
Yeah.
They're trying to say, hey,
that's
trying to connect.
Hey.
fucking good point.
hey, I'm trying to say, hey, yeah, no, actually, yeah, milk has gotten really expensive, hasn't it? Wow. I'll see you next week, buddy. And then, oh crap, I didn't realize that you offered 0%.
Yeah.
So now that my stress level is lower, I trained very, very successful finance teams by this. I said, if you can figure out a way to lower the stress level as low as possible before that customer walks into your finance office, it's yours for the taking. And that works with our whole industry. I think something that we forget a lot, and we definitely forget to share it with others. At our core, we're all salespeople. We're all salespeople. I don't care what your title is. I don't care how many dealerships you own. You're a salesperson. And if you lose sight of that, then it starts to become very clouded what your direction should be. And it becomes very easy to forget that the more people that we can bump elbows with, my wife tells me all the time, I hate to go to Lowe's with you.
Oh my God, I would be in agreement with your wife. I'm sorry, but I cannot go anywhere with you within the greater Catawba area without you having to stop and talk to somebody. It's ridiculous.
But I'll say this. I attribute a lot of my success not because of how sharp I am or how good of a salesperson
or how
I am.
good looking you are.
Or how dashing. I contribute 90% of it to understanding how to make somebody comfortable before I try to make them understand what they need. And the reality is, if we all focused a little more time in the whole industry on figuring out how to make our customers just a little more comfortable before we hit them with the sales pitch, then we would have a tremendous gain on what our cost per our spend per lead is, our spend per customer, our spend per deal done. And I can say this very confidently because whenever you have the experience that you've had, where you go laterally, you move over in a dealership, you see what works here. I have kind of a similar background. Sure. Where, yeah, I saw what it took to make money in a service department. I saw what it took to make money in a finance office. I saw what it took to make money as an owner. I saw what it took to make money on the marketing side. I mean, I've seen a lot of those things, and I'm not trying to say how good I am and how smart I am. What I'm saying is the only thing that translates between all of those things is how comfortable is that customer before you ask them for their money.
To put that in another word without cutting you off here, but what I'm hearing is it's not just about making them comfortable, it's how important is connecting with your consumer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's a million different ways to do that, but we know that the best way to do it is just by being honest and open and having a conversation and just being the guy or the gal.
If I get to the point at a pencil, and I'll dumb this all the way down to the sales process, right? If I'm a salesperson and I slide that pencil across the table to you and you're my customer and I don't already know what the answer is, it means I didn't do a good enough job getting confirmation from you as a customer that I know that you're comfortable doing business with me. So for salespeople that are watching this and say, oh man, and they cringe, and I've seen it for years.
Sure.
I'll hand them a pencil and they'll be like, I can see it. I can see it whenever they look at the pencil. I'm like, yeah, damn. he's not even comfortable with this customer yet because he doesn't know that customer
And
is comfortable
he's in
doing
his
business
own
with him.
house.
And you're here. And you know how many times? So coming from the car business, okay? So when I work with Lowe's, in Lowe's, and I'll make this really short, in Lowe's, you've got happy customers and you've got unhappy customers. Your happy customers go to outside lawn and garden, inside lawn and garden. They're happy that they're getting their plants, their soil. It's springtime. They're getting their lawnmowers. They're happy about all these things. Your plumbing customers are pissed off no matter what time of year it is because they don't know they don't know the difference between 3/8 MPT and 3/8 natural thread, and nobody taught them. And the guy that works in plumbing is a butt because all he deals with all day long are customers that don't know what they need and they're aggravated that they're even having to be in that plumbing department. I say that to say, coming from the car business, to your point, to our conversation earlier off mic, people that are having to buy a car sometimes are having to buy a car. Well, I've got to get to work. I just paid my car off, and don't you know it? Some guy rear-ended me. Now my car is totaled, and I'm going from not having a car payment to having a car payment. I'm not happy about it. There's nothing you're going to do to make them happy. You can make them feel comfortable, but you're not going to make them happy.
Never.
Right? The customer that's buying a new jet ski, he's not buying it because somebody rear-ended him, and now he's got to buy another jet ski. Maybe sometimes, but it's very rare. So I think it's easy to overcomplicate this situation because there are times in the car business where I said, man, I wish somebody would just walk through this door that was excited about what they were buying.
Yeah. No, I can
Our
relate
customers-
this. I can
our
relate this to
customers
my
are excited.
toddlers too, right?
To your what?
To my toddlers. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and if I know Brandon has kids, I don't know if you two have kids, but I can tell you this: toddlers want what they want, and they will throw a temper tantrum if they don't get it, right? And that's what we have to remember in our stores. No matter how comfortable we make a customer, if the product we're offering the consumer seems unattainable to them, they're going to throw a temper tantrum. They're not mad at us. They're not mad at their experience. They feel like they're having something they want taken away from them. So what can we do to bring them back to reality, and what can we do to set them up for
Can you
success
spank them
early?
Can you spank a customer?
I mean, you can.
There are ways.
That's what I would do.
I don't know if I don't know if I recommend it.
But I do think that's one of the most. I know it sounds overly. I feel like it's something that a lot of people would look at and be like, "Well, yeah, of course, that's so simple." But I think that a lot of this industry is very simple.
Yeah.
It's very simple, and as people, we tend to overcomplicate things.
We do.
I was actually in Lowe's the other day, and I was talking to you on the phone actually, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to work this. I've been working on a project at my house, and I was trying to figure out these parts and how I was on the phone with Brandon. I was talking to him, and I was figuring out these things, and the math just wasn't making sense. I was like, do I get this angle iron? Do I get this straight piece and cut it and mill it and shape it this way? And then for whatever reason, this overwhelming feeling came over me, and I was like, man, I'm overcomplicating this. And as soon as I had that thought, the pieces that I need that were going to complete this project and how I could work them were right in front of me. I hadn't moved. I was standing looking at the same shit. But for whatever reason, it was that thought process that cleared the whole project up for me. And I was like, man, this is going to be easy. Picked those two parts up, went home. The project went phenomenally.
Good.
I got the picture of it. I showed my wife. She was like, how did you do that? And I was like, it was 2 pieces. So I say that to kind of bring light to, we can go down so many rabbit holes. We can go down so many different avenues. But I think at the core, the best marketing that we could ever do is based off of the simplicity of how comfortable can we make the consumer with us before they even talk to us, before they see us. And to all of our points, I've done a lot of the Facebook marketing, been the kind of the camera guy a lot for the store in Taylorsville because I enjoy doing it. But man, it has worked wonders for people that will walk through the door and be like, and I've gotten this, wait, you're the owner. And I'm like, no, I'm not.
I am.
But now no, and they'll argue it. They'll argue. No, I'm pretty sure I saw you do this on we were talking about it the other day, slapping money on a jet ski or doing this or falling off this and doing that, talking about. I was like, yeah, well, that was me, but let's not worry about that. Is that what you want? Yeah. And now they're comfortable because now there's been that we bumped elbows already. We have virtually bumped elbows already with this person. Yeah. And I think that the organic stress level reduction of meeting somebody before you meet them is so powerful. Famous people die. What happens? I never met, what was his name? Oh, Andy Griffith. Andy Griffith. Right? I never met Andy Griffith in my life. But when he died, I was like, man, it kind of feels like my dad just
Kobe
died.
Bryant.
Yep.
Kobe
I mean,
Bryant.
for real. I never met that guy. I never met him. And for some reason, something in my heart was like, damn, that sucks. Because he was like everybody's dad.
Yeah.
You know, he was like the father figure. He was sold as the father figure. And so that shows the power of marketing at its core and what it should be really utilized for and the power that's behind that.
All right, so let's talk about where we feel we're going in 26, right? Everybody in this room has been through 25 in power sports, and I think there were definitely ups and there were downs during the year. I'm curious on what you guys think about 2026 and where we're headed. BP, let's start with you, actually.
Start with me?
Let's start with you. Where do you
I
feel
think it's
like
going to be
we're
a great year.
Tell me why.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why, but we've got a lot of good stuff going on in our company, and I think that, we're prepared for it. We've thought about all the scenarios. We thought about, what happens if we go to the moon, what happens if we go backwards, and we're prepared for it. And I think a lot of dealers probably don't prepare for it. They don't do projections. They don't do what if this happens, what if that happens. But, I mean, we're set up in a good spot.
I would agree that I know you and I have conversations about, what it looks like long term, but how many dealers are just so focused on paying their bills next month that they don't get the opportunity to look at the whole year. So I would agree preparation is key.
Yeah.
So agreed. Ryan, as an outside perspective, really inside but outside, where do you think we're going in 2026?
I think we have a couple solid catalysts for success in 2026. The first one being coming out of 2024 and 2025, not just small dealer groups, but big dealer groups as well. Everyone has officially right-sized their inventory, right?
Yep.
We're no longer facing mounting floor plan interest. We're not sitting on a bunch of these square peg units trying to jam them in round holes, right? We've gotten rid of the shit. We have the right product that's going to service our market. And the OEMs have finally understood, okay, we're out of time to jam inventory down our dealer partners' throats, right? We're here to service our dealer partners because they're who's moving our metal. And I think moving the metal. So the OEMs are now back on the dealer side. They're realizing this is not a free-for-all. You can't jam us with inventory. We're going to tell you what we need, and we're not going to take shit we don't need, right? They've responded with strong product offerings. They've listened to what we need. They've listened to what our consumers need, and they're doing the right things to set manufacturing up to get us the right process or the right products, right?
At the right time.
100% at the right time.
Yeah.
The third thing, almost all manufacturers now, Can-Am's on board, Kawasaki's on board. Almost all manufacturers now have the ability for us to set what we would call our profile, right? Where we can determine what we're going to need, but also if we find success in one specific segment or in one specific model, we have the ability to order non-profile orders and not make them a part of our profile to where if this unit falls on its face, I got 1 or 2 left I have to sell and I'm not sitting on 8, right?
Yep.
So we're able to take more chances with less risk, right, as dealers. And then the third thing I think that it's the elephant in the room that we have to talk about is obviously we know all of our consumers have been facing mounting inflation and rising cost of living over the last couple of years, and it now seems like we've gotten to a plateau where it's not going to come back down, but everybody has now adjusted to the new cost of living. They're realizing what they actually need to pay their bills. They're not afraid of what's coming down the pipe. Our country is now bringing in more revenue than it historically ever has, right? Which tells me we're headed for 2 years of buying, right? And I'm not saying that I hope consumers are going to rush out and spend a bunch of money that they don't have.
Yeah.
They're not going to, but they're going to buy the right products when they have the room in their budget, which today they're starting to have the room again.
Yeah.
And most importantly, lenders are now right sizing again, right? The Fed's lowering interest rates more. Lenders are coming out with more competitive offerings. You can finance a side-by-side for 120 months with a lot of local credit unions and now 96 months with manufacturer financing. So the products that we sell that are typically unattainable to the average buyer, which I would say is about 60% of our customer group, the average buyer is not rushing out to buy a $45,000, $50,000 HD11 Limited, right? Or a North Star Ultimate. But now with creative lending, they can. Right? They can afford it. Is it the best setup financially?
No.
Not always, but it's the best setup for their family, right? Because now their family can make memories together at an affordable price point. Last catalyst that I want to talk about is we are now 4 years outside of the COVID bubble, right?
Yep.
Guess what that means? People that spent more money than they've ever historically spent on our products and financed these things long term to be able to afford them are now in an equity position where they can trade out of their vehicle.
Yep.
We have been fighting it for the last 2 years. People are coming in, they finance these things for 84, 96 months, put no money down because the lenders were allowing them to, and they owned this thing for an eternity. Well, now they have relatively clean units because remember, during COVID, we brought a ton of people into our industry who never would have been in our industry to begin with, right? And when we brought them into our industry, they have super clean units that have been garage kept and their wife was going down to the mailbox with it, right? Now we have an ability to flood our stores with this pre-owned inventory because they're in a positive equity situation and can trade out of it into something they're going to use more, right? And we can convert that into a new sale and a pre-owned sale. And most importantly, get a swing at PG&A on both, get a swing at back end on both, and have competitive lending operations to keep them in our business. They buy the first one as an experiment. They buy the second one because they're a believer in our industry.
Absolutely.
Right?
I love what you said about the OEM starting to understand this, because a great example is the H2. The H2. So Dorian and I went to our dealer in Greensboro, and you guys all know what the Kawasaki H2 is.
100%.
It's a sport bike, right?
No.
The new side-by-side.
The Terex H2.
I just want to clarify.
Just want to clarify.
So Josh is okay with me mentioning his name. He's like, hey.
Shout out to Josh.
Shout out to
Josh.
Man.
Josh is like, hey, you ever been in one? And I was like, nah, man, I just saw one the other day. Put us in one. 0 to 60. And I look over. Dorian's in the back seat. I look over and I point at it because we're doing like 75, and I feel like we're floating. Hits the gas, and there's another 25 miles per hour in the gas. Like, it takes off again at 70. Anyways, point is, the most anticipated machine that our industry has put out in the past 2-3 years, since the Pro R, if you will, or even the HD11. And they've come out with this incredible incentive of trying to get those customers into these brand new machines. It's $3,000 trade-in assistance.
Yep.
Now,
So
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, my question is, we've talked about this influx of buyers during COVID, and that was a big thing for me. Is like, oh my God, like we've created so many customers for years and years and years. Like, our industry has attracted 2 to 3% of the population. Then during COVID, we had all of these new buyers. Is this year the year that we finally retain those customers?
Well, I think you're on point.
To your point,
it went.
100%.
is it?
I
And
think
how do we
so,
do that?
but it's going to come down to what you and I were sharing offline not too long ago, where I said 2026 is going to be a year of process over personality, right? Where our personalities is what won those customers the first time. Our process is what's going to win them the second time and keep them coming back into our store. And this time around, they're going to have the right unit. They're not going to have what was fucking available. They're going to have the right unit for them and their family.
Yep.
And we are going to be able to absolutely wring the rag of profitability when it comes to custom outfitting that unit for them through strategically procured parts and accessories, right? We know where they're riding. They know where they're riding now because they're not beginners.
Sure, yeah.
They probably the first time around spent more money on a unit they didn't need, right? The guys that came in and bought an XRS Max with Smart Shocks because he thought he had to have that Turbo RR model, he's going to come back in and he's going to buy the new X3X model because that's all he really needs. But what he really wishes he would have spent the money on instead of the Smart Shocks was an audio roof, better wheels and tires, 4-point harnesses instead of a 3-point buckle system. Well, the Smart Shocks would have that. But you get where I'm going with this.
Program.
He's going to build it for him. And for dealers, where's our real profitability come? It comes from the incremental business. It comes from that customer coming back into our store to grab an oils change kit and then buying an audio roof that has 55 points in margin on it and paying our $169 or $189 an hour labor rate to install it, right? So this is where process over personality is going to really win the year.
There's some data. We talked about this. It went from like 3% to close to 7% exposure to the our national market. And then I think after COVID, it
fell off.
There was probably 4% that's just sitting on the sidelines. Those people that you're talking about, they have their unit sitting in their garage. It gets touched, once a month, blah, blah, blah. I think this year is our opportunity to pull that percentage.
Stop.
Wah, wah, wee, wah.
I think
This year
this
is-
year's our opportunity to pull that that quiet percentage, that
Absolutely.
sleeping giant, back into our stores and retain them on. This is the experience, not just this is what we had available at the
100%.
time.
So is
that you
there
came in.
outreach?
I think there is outreach to go back and look at like who were our customers from 2020 to 2022, and let's put something together specifically for them.
I don't want to get off on marketing. We don't need to delve
No,
too
no,
far
no.
into
No,
this,
but this
seriously,
does
like, how do we-
come back
How
to
do we get
process.
those
It's
people
process.
back
It's
in?
process.
Like I'm a huge believer in not letting salespeople work leads cradle to grave, right? And we know the number one driving factor for our business is digital and phone leads. It's not walk-in traffic,
No.
right? How we handle ourselves digitally and over the phone is how our business does. So something that we coin in the power sports business as these BDC departments, they're really internet sales departments. They're not BDC departments. In the car business, Christian, you'll understand this. You have true business development representatives. Those BDRs, they're working in a BDC, a business development center, and they're only calling previous customers and unsold traffic. They're driving service business. They're driving PG&A business. They're driving or trying to reduce the time in the trade cycle, right? But what they're not doing is fielding new inbound phone and web traffic, right? We have dedicated internet sales representatives for that. In the power sports industry, we need to start having
We
dedicated
don't even have
business
good
development
fucking follow-up
representatives.
processes. Are you serious?
We're going to.
I'm saying as an industry.
Yeah,
Like you just
no.
mentioned two
The
or three
industry-
things outside of like what the average dealer is doing. Hell, we just had a conversation with another dealer, and he's like, "Yeah, it takes me 90 to 120 minutes to respond to one lead."
We looked at each other and vomited in our mouths.
Yeah,
Literally,
yeah.
like, oh my God.
Yeah, no disrespect if the guy's
Yeah, no,
watching.
no.
But it's that's
It's
standard.
The
it's a
problem
more
is-
common problem than you
Yeah.
think.
That's
it is.
industry standard.
Yeah.
Polaris as a manufacturer requires you to respond to an inbound web lead within 2 hours. What do you think is happening to a consumer? I was shopping for a car a couple months ago.
Unless you have a guy.
Unless you have a guy,
You're
when you
shopping
submit that
one,
lead, you're getting a text message first. Car dealerships lead text message first. And
They
the reason
don't-
they do
they
that,
don't play.
Nope. They maximize the opt-in text message that they send, right? That text isn't, hey, this is Tom from Joe Schmo Car Lot. Can I text you? Reply yes to accept. No, it's, hey, Ryan, this is Tom. I saw you're looking at this X car. I have it available on my lot. Is today or tomorrow a better day for you to come take a test drive? Reply yes to accept, right?
Yeah.
They're
Straight
maximizing
for the
that
kill.
opt-in. But then they're immediately leading with a phone call. And the reason they're leading with the text message rather than the phone call is this. When my phone rings, I didn't see the text message come in. The text message came in very quickly and they immediately picked up the phone and dialed. And why did they do that? Because when my phone rang, that random 704 number that called me said, maybe Tom. Maybe Tom, I must know this guy.
Yeah.
Ryan Dallas,
Yep.
right? Hey, it's Tom from Joe Schmo Automotive. The fuck?
Yeah.
How did I know you? Well, it's because you sent me a
yeah.
text
So-
message
Yeah.
first.
I'm pretty sure I was just thinking about submitting the lead, and you called me.
Yeah, no, literally.
Earlier when I said this industry is so much more fun because the customer appreciates what they're buying so much more than they appreciate a car.
They do.
That part is better, but I'm telling you, the systems and this
The
is for
systems and
we've
the
all agreed.
processes,
We've
yes.
all agreed in this. And it's because we're talking about so much smaller of a market, right?
Correct.
The power sports market is just so much smaller. There's so much less cash flow than the auto industry that a lot
But
of
it's
people
still a
haven't.
$15 billion market.
It 100% is.
Like,
I
it's not-
don't-
it's not
I'm
small,
not. I'm
and it-
saying smaller.
Right,
I'm saying
right,
it's
yeah,
smaller.
yeah,
I'm saying
yeah.
we've got $15 billion of market worth of research and creative people that have said there's profit in this technology. So let's go advance this technology. Versus, I don't know what the auto industry is. It's
Hundreds
billion,
of billions.
right? Hundreds of billions of dollars. There's a lot more creative people that have latched on to
Trillions.
areas of profit there. That's why the systems are so much better. So if in 26, as we're talking about the things that we can do to really progress and really take 26 and magnify that, is figuring out our own processes to emulate what they've already figured out.
Yeah.
And the point is if you're shopping for a car, you already know what their process is.
100%.
You just told us,
Yeah.
right? Their process is we're going to send you a text message as soon as it comes through, probably AI, whatever it's, however it's tuned. You're going to get that
Yeah.
quickly. And then you get the phone call right after it, right?
100%.
You-
So-
and you take the number of leads that they're getting, right? A good car dealership will get between 2,200 and 3,500 leads a month, right? That's what they'll get, right?
It's
a good power
3%,
a good power sports dealership, right? I would say an average power sports dealership will get between maybe 200 and 500.
600.
North.
Well,
right?
a big store. We're little guys.
Well, yeah, but
Okay.
I would say the average full line dealership is going to get anywhere between 700 and 1,000 inbound leads a month, and that's the scariest part of this, Christian, is some of these stores are receiving 700 to 1,000 leads a month, and they're completely mismanaging them.
Well,
Yeah.
But here's my question. What are you classifying as an inbound lead? Is that a phone call? Is that a store visit? Or are you just talking about
I'm
submit
talking
lead form?
inbound digital lead form.
Lead form.
Inbound digital lead.
You're thinking
website,
700
Facebook.
Whether it's OEM, whether it's Facebook, whether it's some of the industry leaders in our industry are like Auto APR, for example, Trade Pending. Those third-party lead generators are generating between 700 and 1,000 in large rooftop dealerships. Smaller dealerships, yes, between the 2 and 600 mark. Right?
yeah. So if we're going to say what's one of the actual tools that we're going to focus on in 26 to make 26 better than 25, Robert Kiyosaki said this, and I think it's very impactful, is that business owners don't fail when they run out of money. They fail when they run out of energy.
Agreed.
And it's the same with salespeople. It's exactly the same. The lead doesn't die when you run out of money and you don't see a deal there. The lead dies when you run out of energy on that lead.
100%.
That's when the lead dies. That's when it dies. It's not whenever the customer says, well, I can't afford that monthly payment. Or if you just don't have this unit, then I'm just not going to buy anything. That's not when the lead dies. The lead dies when you give up on the lead, whenever you have lost energy and lost faith in the lead. So if you've got a sales force, if you've got a sales team, if you're in a position like, I'm going to use Taylorsville specifically, if you're in a situation where you've got 2 salespeople, right, that are fielding leads, phone calls, internet leads, all channels, how much energy do those salespeople have to accurately handle 200 leads a month? That's 100. If it's round robin, that's 100 leads a month, right? How much energy do they have?
And at what point in the cycle are they letting that lead die?
And at what point in the cycle does the lead die?
Man, I've tried everything. I've done everything. And they think because of their big ego that they have done everything. And if they can't close them, nobody's going to close them.
Here's one of the things that I'm most excited to work with you on. Because you come from a bigger group, which has more resources and really more data to look into, what I think you'll find is that our biggest gap in our group is our tech stack. And how difficult it is to get good automation out of your tech stack, because we could, if we had enough, we would agree. We'll put enough money into Facebook and Google. We'll print 500-600 leads for a small store like Taylorsville. But the problem is not the lead count; it's
The manpower.
can you get past the third touch?
Yeah.
And the reality is like I've been doing this long enough to know, and as a salesperson, I'm calling the lead 3 times and I'm texting them. And if I don't get it, it's dead. To me as a salesperson.
Ryan, so in your experience, how many leads can one salesperson handle? Like if I was a dealership owner and I was going, okay, I'm trying to figure out how many salespeople I need. Industry average says, or standard says, one salesperson should sell 15 units a month. Average person. Good people, they're going to sell 20, 25, maybe even 30. Some guys got dudes selling 40. But the question is, if we narrow that down and say we're not going to look at how many units that one person can sell, how many leads can that one person handle?
That varies by rooftop, right?
Okay.
I am a firm believer that no person should ever have, and this is like an on-the-floor salesperson, he should never have more than 100 leads under his management at a time, including rolling leads. That's my benchmark. That does not mean that's accurate information. That's just what I queue.
I would agree with you on that.
For the internet departments, they'll tell you fielding between 2 to 250 active deals in your pipeline. I also disagree with that. I think to have your best foot forward and put your best energy into your digital showroom, no internet rep should be fielding more than 150 digital leads.
But most dealers don't have internet reps. They have salespeople. We're talking
Correct.
about one rooftop, whether they sell 40 a month or 140 a month. most people or most dealerships don't have an internet. They
I
just have their
personally think
salespeople.
100 to 150 active leads is your max at the most, and that's
In a
including
month.
Correct. That's including your new inbound traffic this month and previous customers that are rolling from
Okay,
previous
out of
months.
those, say we're going to round this number to 100. What's the closing percentage on the 100?
There's a couple different schools of thought on that, right? And you're talking overall leads, including fresh walk-in showroom visits. I would think you should be able to close 20% of your active leads in your pipeline if you're including showroom.
Okay.
If you're only looking digital and phone, right, you want to be closing between 10 and 15% of those, and you're a leader. But that's only if you have a lot of higher funnel leads coming in as well, right? If you're using some of those, I don't want to say clickbait, but clickbait lead
Sure,
generators,
yeah.
because those have
Which
value
are what?
too.
What
They
do
definitely
you
have
consider clickbait?
Like a trade pending and auto APR, right? Or like Motomate 123 is a big tool in our business, right? So Motomate 123, one of their featured tools is like their shop by payment tool, right? A lot of those shop by payment tool, low barrier of entry, you just fill out a quick 5-liner and see what your actual payment on this unit is without doing anything else. Those I consider lower barrier of entry, so higher funnel leads, right?
Transacts widget.
Transacts
Yes. Yeah.
widget is
Yeah.
a very good
Yeah.
example, right?
Okay.
But to answer the real question that was behind this, which was how can we maximize our tech stack to more effectively handle these leads, we need to see how we're truly handling the leads first. Are we doing the best job we can do? And I can 100% say, sitting at this table, just like I would at any dealership in the United States, the answer is no. So before we open the floodgates to generate more leads, let's make sure we're maximizing the potential on the leads we already have in the pipeline.
Right.
Here's something beautiful that honestly, dude, I'm excited to have you in because we have never had somebody who's been in
Sure.
a
Yeah,
big
yeah.
group before, not with just the resources wise, but who can say, look at this piece of tech, look at this, and this. Because
Sure.
my limitations is that I'm so focused on driving the web traffic and the store visits and the phone calls that I'm very limited on my ability to understand the tech that we're working with and how I can automate it to work best with our. So, for example, October. Now, I would love to rerun this campaign with a different perspective.
I've seen your October financials. It was a banging month.
Here's the no. Maybe this is November. Sorry, November. We decided that we were going to go after that lower third, and we said we're going to make our product attainable for everyone.
Sure.
Okay,
And how did you do that?
and so we approached
We're
everything.
like we can get anybody approved.
It's almost an automotive.
0 credit, no credit, bad credit, good credit. We can get you approved.
I did one of those recently called the WTF sales event, willing to finance, right?
Similar. So like we took this approach. We filmed content around it, and it
Blew up.
it worked.
It blew
I
up.
guarantee it did.
So we
You're
could not
in a
get
prime
people
market for that.
financed.
So that's where we have to look at lenders, right? And that's
Yeah.
one of the big things I
First
want to
thing
do
we
is
did.
before we start marketing that, which that is the biggest opportunity area in our business. A lot of people think
is.
the upper echelon top 10% buyer is the opportunity.
Give
Hell
them-
no.
give
It's
them
the
the yes.
average Joe with a 620 to 640 credit score, the average buyer that has an average job but really, really wants what we sell and thinks it's unattainable.
I will get way too fired up about this conversation. but
Mr. Carman over
but
here.
but when we initially we talked about earlier is the three groups of buyers. Top end always will buy because they can write a check, so it's just about the right time for them. It doesn't matter the economy, right? They will buy because they can buy. So we already know that there are three types of buyers: low end, middle, top end. Middle fluctuates more than either low end or top end. Low end will always buy if you can just figure out a way to give them a yes. This is why I get so enthusiastic
Sure.
about finding creative ways to tell them yes, because that buyer is the happiest customer that you will ever have and will be your customer for life, even if they have a shitty experience.
I agree.
Here's why. You told them yes. That's it.
Yeah.
You found a way when all four other dealerships told them, sorry, we can't help you. Our minimum credit score is 550, or we can't deal with customers with more than $3,000 of negative equity, or we don't like what you dressed in. You know, all these things that they get no's for. If we can figure out a way, and this is sales, this is the whole dealership. I think as a salesperson, it's very easy to say, they pulled up in a '04 Civic, and I know they ain't got credit. They can't. How many times have we heard they can't finance steam off a hot dog?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That's the energy drop on the salesperson side, right? However, salespeople can still say, let me just hit Google real quick and see if there's a lender around here that will finance an unsecured loan for X amount of dollars.
State employees.
Right? State employees. My point being, if you empower your entire dealership to become problem solvers versus putting problems on people of power, the finance manager, the sales manager, the owner, things start to come out of the woodwork.
Agreed.
Right.
My first general manager, who I mentioned earlier, who's one of my personal mentors, one of my best friends, and the best fucking operator I've ever seen in this business because he builds people, told me on my first day, you're going to make 80% of your money on 20% of your customers, right? The other
80-20 rule.
The other 20% of your money you're going to work your ass off for, and that's 80% of your customers, right? So those 20% of your customers that you're making 80% of your monies on, they're the get-me-dones we talk about. And we have to have purchasing solutions for them like we're discussing. That's where this conversation is
And you
going.
got to be real creative. And that's the part
Who
stops
are
that.
those lenders that get those 80% done?
Depends.
These people want to know.
A lot of them are regional, right? We know that Octane buys deep. We know that Performance Financed buys deep. If you are a Polaris dealer, or even if you're a non-Polaris dealer, you can sign up with their sister company, Freedom Road Financial. They buy deep. The problem is our market needs more outside-the-box lending partners, right? In on-road, there's a great new leasing program called Horsepower Financial. I've never been a big fan of leasing programs. I don't think it's the best situation for the customer, but what I've found through some of these creative marketing campaigns, like the Willing to Finance sales event we talked about, is having that product there. Customers, they just want to ride. They know it's not the best financial setup, but they know at the end of a 3-year lease agreement, when they hand that bike over, they will have reported that lease to all 3 credit bureaus, and they're going to be able to buy what they truly, truly want.
Credit builder.
Fun fact about Horsepower, they're actually now getting into off-road, and they're a certified off-road CF Moto and Polaris leasing program.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Right? So there are options for that. Local credit unions, we struggle with this in North Carolina. When I did business in Arizona, we had 40 different credit unions that we could apply indirectly through. They call it indirect lending through a program called Cuddle, right? You have that in the car business.
Loved Cuddle.
We don't have that here, but what we need in North Carolina is we need a representative to go push these credit unions to open their products up to dealerships, not just direct consumers. And we're going to do that. I genuinely believe in our market, we are headed for the power sports boom that the West Coast saw in 2017 very rapidly. We see it every day in our store. Guys are coming in with their 25-year-old Honda Rancher 4x4s, and they're saying, guys, I'm ready to get a buggy. The fuck is a buggy? One of those
Could be a
things.
lot of different things.
X3.
They're ready. They're ready.
They're
We're
looking for a
coming
yes.
for it,
Yeah.
right? They just want to find a yes, and we have to find a way to provide them for the yes, and that's something we're going to work on together.
Love it because we've already proven that customer exists.
That customer exists,
That
dude.
customer
There's
We-
more
and it's
of
the
that
bulk
customer
of our
than
customer.
any customer. Yeah, the bulk. Yeah.
The
It's
dealer
the majority.
group that taps that customer base first fucking wins. I promise.
You could have an entire dealer group solely marketed that way if you could get them bought and have to focus on no other customer.
Exactly.
Now, I'm serious. You could absolutely do this, and I'm telling you, I've physically proven this with a dealership with my name on it. On the other side,
Yeah.
if you market yourself that way, you are guaranteed a level of success.
And let me tell you
There's-
something about that buyer too. He's your customer for life because
Forever.
you gave him a
Forever.
shot
Done, yeah.
when
you
no
sit
one
down,
else would.
When you sit down with that customer and you say, hey, I know it's not the unit that you came in for, but I'm helping you to get to a path that leads you to the unit that you do want.
I referred one of those customers to you yesterday. You don't know it yet, but he's going to be reaching out to you.
I think I may have spoke to him.
You might have.
I think I did.
He came to me. He came to me, needed a unit, said, brother, I need you to help me out. I bought this years ago. I can't get approved on another one. Let's look at your credit. Let me see what I can do. I got him an entry-level unit to get him into the market. Less than a year later, he's now riding a Defender Max Limited, and he's bringing all his friends to buy from me because I gave him a shot. Well, I'm not with my previous store anymore. I sent him to Brandon. He sent him to you.
Yep.
And it came down to, we talk about a white glove experience. That's that's what we tell customers. We want to give you the white glove experience, but the real experience we're giving you is we're getting you approved, we're getting you riding, and we're making you feel like we're your ally, right? Because we are.
Right.
I
Yeah.
want to see everyone's life improve, and there's no better way to get someone's life to improve than to say yes.
You put them on a path to success, they're yours forever.
100%.
You sell them a unit, if
100%.
you just sell them a unit, you might get them back.
Maybe.
If you put them on the path to success,
They're going to come
you
back
will get 'em back.
every time.
We talked about it last week. You want to keep great people? Build them. Put them on the path to success.
Exactly.
They stay yours forever.
Yep.
Why? Loyalty. That is real loyalty. They feel gratitude that you did something that other people weren't willing to do. So because of that, they are inertly tied to you for the rest of their purchasing career. I cannot tell you how many customers that I've got, because I focused on that in auto, that still text me and say, hey, man, I heard you were out of the car business, but I figured you knew a guy.
Yeah.
Right? And I've got, fortunately, several guys I can send them to. So I'm still that guy to those people. And that's the power behind that.
So just to wrap this up, one, I'm excited for you to take a look at the CRM because you're going to see this one candlestick in November, and you're going to be like, "That's what they were talking about."
Got it.
It is a nuclear bomb spike.
It's like
I would, before we wrap this up, I would also say as a recap, if you're a dealer and you're trying to figure out like what your process looks like, shop your local car dealers. Like go in as a
Intensely.
buyer and shop your local car dealers and see what that online or phone call experience looks like and adapt that to your dealership.
Especially used car dealers.
Because that's what we were just talking about. And this industry, our industry, has always followed the car business all the time. 20, 30 years ago, we follow the car business.
And we always say we're 10 years behind the car business. That's like a
Yes.
slogan in
Yeah, I
power
knew
sports.
that fucking
Well,
10
if
years
we
ago.
know we're 10 years behind the car business, why the fuck aren't we copying it?
Yes.
you know
right?
what it is. You know what it
Boom.
is? It's spending. It's,
No, it's
it's
not
spe-
spending. It's ego, and it's information, right? So if we look at, just think about the families of people and where they come from. Like there's a reason that people that are successful. It's because the information they got from their parents and their grandparents, right?
Agreed.
So we're exposed to that information. So if we're in the power sports business and we're ignorant, which is not a bad thing because ignorance is
It's an echo chamber.
right. Yeah, it's ignorance just means that you don't know what you don't know. So if we can say as a group in the industry that we're 10 years behind the car business, but we want to be as good as the people in the car business, what do we need to do? We need to figure out what the car business is doing and then take the stuff out that we don't like and that does not fit in our culture and in our environment, take it out and implement the rest of it.
pick and choose.
Pick and choose.
Pick and
yeah,
choose.
because that's how we learn, right? We take good information, we take the bad out of it, and we take the good from what we can learn.
Agreed. I think the ego comes into what I was saying with spending because I know you know this as well as I do. Some operators just won't do it because the way that they have done it has worked good enough for them for 30 years.
Sure.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Good
So I guess that's what I was getting at. So to wrap this thing up, give me my theme music. Thank you for tuning in. Special shout out to my co-hosts, Brandon Prokupek, Christian Ingles. Bigger shout out to our guest, Ryan Dallas. Thank you for being here, man. You
Thanks
did
for
great.
having me, guys.
Appreciate it, guys.
Hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you didn't, don't come back. But
Go
for those
sell
who
something.
did, come back and check us out. Thank you very much.
That's a wrap.